TG Geeks, episode 377, May 9th, 2022. Lesser monsters that are definitely not less than. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, where it's hot.
Yes, and I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you also from Phoenix, Arizona, where we are starting to experience what I call the puppy days of summer.
Yeah, not the dog days.
Not the dog days of summer, it's the puppy days.
It's the puppy days.
It's just started.
Yes, it's 88 degrees, and it's just 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we have a treat for you. We have brought back Rory Michaelson, whose Lesser Monster series is about to release book number 3, and we'll talk about that. We have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback, as well as our regular shout-outs, and maybe something in the second segment if we have time, and our wacky weekly recap, as well as our regular shout-outs. So let's get on with this interview. And we welcome back to our microphones Rory Michaelson, who has written the Lesser Known Monster series, and we're going to talk about the third book in that series, The Torn Earth. Welcome, Rory.
Hi.
Hello. So you are calling us from?
I'm from the UK. Thanks for having me back.
Well, we couldn't tell by your accent that you're from the UK.
He probably doesn't know he has an accent. He probably thinks we have the accent.
Exactly.
And he would be correct.
That's true.
You know, it's all subjective.
Yes. You are from...
I remember hearing that weird story about apparently the American accent is the original British accent, and then it was
yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't know if Monet Exchange made that up.
I heard Alan Rickman say that on a talk show because he had just finished doing the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, and Costner was getting a lot of grief for his British, non-British accent. I mean, he was like quasi-British at the beginning, not British at the end. And so Rickman had to come in and defend and says, well, did you know, actually, it was reversed way back when? And I'm like, was it?
We're some Dick Van Dykes.
I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that.
Yeah. So we talked to you last time about the Lesser Known Monsters, and the book 2 was just about to come out at that point, or the Bone Gate, the second book, was about to come out. And now you have this third book, The Torn Earth. I really enjoy the Lesser Known Monsters. The first book. I unfortunately haven't gotten to the second, and I need to get to the second and then to the third, because I really, really enjoyed the first book. So tell us, before we get to the book, tell us who Rory Michaelson is and how you got into writing.
So writing, I'm kind of a late starter, I guess, in some ways. I didn't start writing until I was into my 30s, and I'd never done it before. I kind of dabbled with it in my young teens, but it was quickly repelled away from it for one reason or another. And I just kind of wanted to have fun. And it was a creative outlet that was safe, and I could do it on my own time, and it was kind of a private thing for me at the start. And then I started chatting to people on Twitter who encouraged me to share the story with them, which was Lesser Known Monsters. and they really liked it. And then I never planned to publish it, but they encouraged me to publish it and sort of helped me through that journey. I thought like one other person might read it other than them, but quite a lot of people read it, and a lot of people seem to like it.
That's cool.
And it just fueled me on really, because I've learned that if I'm having fun and being silly and amusing myself with puns and jokes and drama and sexy monsters, that other people seem to be having fun whilst I'm having fun too, and it's nice to do that.
Well, that's cool. I really enjoyed it. It was one of those books where, okay, I have to read the next page. I have to read the next page. I have to know what happened now. I have to know what happened. You know, it's one of those that draws you in, and you live with the characters as you're reading the book. At least for me, it was.
And it's nice that you talked about how much you were enjoying it, because that does translate. And the way you were describing that, you're having fun, which enables the reader to have fun. I mean, you're sounding a lot like author Robert Asprin, who wrote the Fine Myth stories, who was also known for just having such a great time as he was writing his books that he ended up writing like, I don't know how many, 13 or 14 books of a particular series. And he had such a fun time doing it that his readership just kept saying, oh, you got to give us more. You got to give us more. So it's cool that you're able to find that joy in what you're doing as you write these stories.
Yeah, it feels really nice, because it's kind of an emotional journey too, because I'm a bit of a pantser, so I kind of have an idea of what's going to happen in the story, and sometimes I have some bullet points to guide me. But the twists and turns that happen that surprise the readers normally have surprised me as well, and I didn't know that they were coming. So it can be a kind of emotional journey, and especially with this series, the first book was kind of a nice, self-contained, almost like a bit of a holiday novel, in that it was quite clean, short chapters, and didn't leave you with a cliffhanger ending or anything. But as the books go on, they definitely kind of get a bit bolder and darker and more confident. And it's I've enjoyed it more and more as I've written more.
Yeah, so that leads me to my husband's famous question early on here. Normally, this is later on in the chat.
But you kind of already taken us there.
Yeah. Do these characters live in your head? I mean, not to sound kind of psychoanalytical, but are the characters alive for you, and do they kind of steer where the story goes?
Yes, it's not kind of with that clear delineation. I think that all of the characters that I write, whether they're good or bad or strange, they're all a part of me, and my brain thinks of scenarios and thinks of funny lines and puns and situations and dramatic sequences for people to get into, and it may not be that it's automatically allocated to that individual character, but then I can fit it best to that character. So yeah, they all have sort of traits from me, and they're all a part of me, but they don't have their individual personalities running all the time, if that makes sense.
Because we've had a number of authors where they've said that, right from the get-go, the character will do something that they didn't expect. I mean, one author friend that we have, he said that he was writing a short story, and he had it all planned for this particular characters, the set of characters, to do this thing. And then all of a sudden, this one other main character comes in and takes over an entire school. And he says, I hadn't planned that. It just happened. And when you hear him describe it on social media, it's like he's talking about this character as if this character were alive. And he still does that. I mean, he still refers to these characters. I was trying to write this scene. I couldn't write this scene because Rune insisted that he needed to be in the room. It's like, okay, so I guess they're alive to authors in some level.
Yeah, I think it's part of the suspension of disbelief thing too, because when you've built these characters and they're on a journey, you can feel it if they're not taking the right direction in that journey. You can feel it if they're not reacting the way that character would react, because you've built them. So I had that with the first book of Lesser Known Monsters series, when the main character was kind of supposed to have someone come to get him, and he was supposed to try and fight them off and then be taken away. And I'd been writing the book, and he'd had such a terrible time that when they came, he's not a strong character, he's not a bold character, and he just kind of like went, oh, okay, you can take me, that's fine. I kind of give up. This is enough for me now. I'm over it. And I hadn't planned that, and that was very much that character, but at the same time, it really threw me because it wasn't how I'd planned the story.
Interesting.
So how fully formed are the characters when you start? I mean, did you have them completely, totally developed with backstories? Even if the backstory elements never show up in the book, did you give backstories to every single one of them so that by the time you got to putting pen to paper, you actually had the characters fully formed?
No, I can't really work like that because if I know too much before I start, I kind of lose interest in telling the story because I already know the story. So part of what fuels me on is the excitement and the adventure of me learning what happens next as well and what kind of is going on with these characters.
Yeah.
So my characters kind of start out as caricatures. They have like maybe a paragraph that I know what makes them them, and then the rest of it's free to grow and adapt into what fits them in the story.
And then you discover things about their past and you say, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That is really cool. So tell us just briefly what the Bone Gate is, and then we'll talk about the Torn Earth.
So if I describe Lesser Known Monsters as kind of a fun holiday adventure, the Torn Earth, just to jump to the last one, is a kind of structured, it's definitely what I've been growing towards. And then the Bone Gate is it's my feral child. It's bitten and it will bite again. It's a little bit wild, and I wrote it in less than 2 weeks, and
Wow.
it just happened.
Oh my God.
Less than 2 weeks?
2
Yeah,
weeks?
11 days I think it was. It was just done.
Wow.
When did you have time to sleep?
I didn't very much or eat very much. It was happening and it had to happen. And then when I wrote The Torn Earth, that was a completely different experience because I'd kind of painted myself into a little bit of a corner, and I had to figure out what happened next in the story and also how to pull all my threads together and give a satisfying conclusion, not only for the plot and the events, but also for each character individually, and bring it to a place that had a meaningful narrative for everyone and everything, which was a huge challenge. But I took on a kind of more high fantasy epic structure with like a lot more of an intricate build, and it was really, really fun to write. But there's no way I could have written that in 11 days. It was much more of a 6 months kind of deal.
Well, that's cool. So, gosh,
I think we
lost
should.
my train of thought.
Well, I think we should ask you and have you remind our audience, what is this series generally about?
So I'm cheap. So the first thing I wanted to write about was sexy monsters, but it became much more than that. So I wanted to write about the monsters that you don't hear much about, which is why it's called Lesser Known Monsters, because we might have sparkly vampires and lovesick zombies and things like that, sexy werewolves, but all of these kind of like deep mythological creatures that are in legends and folklore, I feel like they needed some more airtime. So I wanted to tell stories about them. And then because I wanted to tell queer stories, because that's something I didn't really have enough of growing up, I wanted to put in a foil that was going to fit into that world in a way that was interesting and challenged it. And that was to make him not a hero. It was to make him fragile and nervous and indecisive. And when I wrote the book, that was kind of all I had. And then what it became for the main character, Oscar, was a kind of a journey of self-actualization and growth, and learning to gain agency and confidence. And this world of monsters then kind of faded into the background because that was just the setting. It was more about how this character could grow into his best version of himself.
Oh, that's cool. I did like in the first book, the little interstitial scenes that you did that were kind of appeared initially to be kind of one-off, but some of them kind of, there was they came to fruition, shall we say, at the end of the book, and I thought that was really cool. And some of the unusual monsters that you came up with were just fascinating. I was fascinated by it. I've always liked cryptid and unusual monsters and whatnot like that. They scared the hell out of me as a child, but it was always fun to read about them. So I thought that those were really cool interstitial or just little short stories or just a paragraph or, just something about this odd monster and then how it kind of, you kind of set the pace for that whole world that they were living in. So I thought that was really...
Yeah. I think it helped me immerse myself more as well. I mean, I say a lot that I think the reason that those taxonomies exist, which is there's kind of like these taxonomy of monsters entries that go through the series. And because I have ADHD, if you present me with like a huge body of text, I will struggle to read it because I'll lose interest. Whereas if I can break it down and have like a nice little picture with like a separate thing that isn't a separate story, but it's bringing me further into that world, it can increase my interest. So yeah, that's something that goes on throughout the series, and it gets better and better in my opinion as it goes on, because of course when you've got characters immersed in a world of monsters, some of those characters are going to become more monstrous. So it might be that some of them start to appear in their own taxonomy entries as the series goes on.
Interesting. That's fascinating. So the third book then is the culmination of this trilogy, obviously. Ha ha. Trilogy. Third book. Well, yeah, I guess so. Any further plans for Rory to write anything else?
Yeah, so I have loads of different stories that really want to come out of my brain at the moment, but this has taken up so much of my time because whilst I was writing and getting ready to release the third book, for some reason I also decided to prepare the hardbacks of all of the books at the same time. So there's 3 hardbacks coming out at the same time as the third book's paperback, and also the hardback of my collection of short stories. So I'm technically publishing like 5 books at the same time.
Oh my God.
Which is really time consuming. So I've had no chance to write these other books, but I'm also working on a YA horror. And I'm also writing a kind of more adult high fantasy that I call, like steampunk sky pirates with superpowers. And that's very queer as well. Both of them. I would never write non-queer books.
That is fascinating. I'm excited about that one already.
Yeah,
it just sounds fun.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
me too.
I'm curious with some of your ideas, where they come from. I love the whole creative process, especially when the genesis of an idea. So like this high fantasy, you don't
want to ask him that question. It's that drug-fueled teenage angst that he went through.
Oh,
or they went
is that
through.
it? But seriously, I mean, it's like, what are you doing when all of a sudden that little idea? I mean, was it something that you saw or something that you read someplace else that made you think, now that's an idea?
Yeah, I think it's an amalgamation, isn't it? I think that all of these things, like, they go into your brain and become soup, and then something different comes out. And I think that it can be one trigger, that you might see something in a film or read it in a book and you're like, this is cool, but imagine if this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often the ending of things seem off to me, and because I kind of predict how things are going to end, and then if it doesn't end as well as I thought it might, then it kind of creates its own story in my head as to how I could do that all differently.
Interesting. And your interest in monsters, where did that come from? Young,
I guess
as a young person?
When I was growing up, yeah. When I was the prime teen years of kind of like Buffy and Supernatural and Charmed. So that was, my young brain was fed with that and X-Files and Practical Magic, So I wrote these books not for me now. I wrote them for the me that needed these books at the time, which was like a new adult version of myself, which is why the series starts in that very sort of new adult phase for the characters.
Interesting.
So have you thought about actually revisiting those, but giving them, a more mature Rory coat of paint on them?
No, I love these stories for what they are and for the specific version of myself that I wrote them for. And I would not change a thing about any of them. And even if, I'm self-pubbed, and if a publisher came and said, I want to buy this series, but I want you to change this to be, say, a YA because it will sell better, the answer would be no. Like, these books are what they are supposed to be. But my next books, I'm writing more for the current version of myself.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Hey, stand on your principles. Absolutely.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, talk again. A number of authors that we've had, they've got stories and they've got locked away in drawers that they will not show to anyone. I mean, because they were meant for the author themselves at that time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess as a form of therapy, perhaps.
For sure. And I think, people write their trauma into their stories, and sometimes that trauma is not to share. It's because they wanted to work it out into something. They wanted to use those threads and weave it into something new. And it might be that they don't want to share that, and I think that's good.
That's really cool.
Has anything in your past writing, now, again, and I respect the fact that you don't want to take these stories and give them, update them to a contemporary time. But has it been, during the course of writing any of those things, did anything pop out of there say, I could use that idea here?
Not really, actually. I mean, I guess the thing is, as the series goes on, the characters mature. So by the third book, they're very much dealing with more adult problems rather than new adult problems. And I think because the tone shifts to things more like pressure and stress and grief and trauma and all that kind of thing, I think seeing those characters deal with that on a daily basis and then have additional challenges on top of it is kind of where we're at with adulthood, isn't it? It's how they're navigating the world around them with those existing weights upon them. So I think that I've kind of satisfied that this series has grown, and it's grown with the characters, but it's also grown with me. So I haven't felt the need to actually take anything out of that and put it into a more sort of current version of me thing.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm really excited about the sparkly magic pirates.
Sparkly magic.
God,
I hope
Sky
not.
Pirates with superpowers. I think that's just how I'm going to have to pitch it because it's too good.
That sparkle in the sunlight, yeah.
Superpower pirates.
Let's see how many streams we can cross here.
and steampunk.
Yeah.
I mean, that just sounds, it sounds so what I would read. I mean, you combine steampunk and pirates and superpowers and wow.
Well, I don't know. I think steampunk and pirates those are two elements that are like chocolate and peanut butter. They deserve to go together.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you add the superpowers on top of that.
Well, I got to think about that one. But I've always thought, why
Let's
has
just think of it magic? There we go.
Okay, well, okay, I can go with
It's
that.
going to be a harder magic system too. I think what I've written so far is very soft magic system, but is this next one, the magic system will be a little bit firmer.
Okay, well,
which will fit better with the steampunk.
Now you just hit on something that has me kind of interested. Since we're going to be talking, since we're now addressing this future project. When you were working on the magic system, I mean, did you come up with a hard set of rules on how that was going to operate?
No, I thought about the main points. I mean, to me, the fundamentals of a good magic system is always that it can't solve all problems, and that the problems that your characters should be faced with should be specifically the ones that the magic can't solve or would make worse. And that, to me, makes the story more interesting. And there always needs to be a price for the magic, for the powers. So using those kind of like as my basis, I didn't go much deeper because this was very much, I wanted to have fun with what was happening. And I think that for a lot of people, a softer magic system can be more enjoyable.
So the magic was somewhat superficial it's intricate to the story, but it's superficial on its own level.
Yeah, I couldn't sit and I wouldn't sit and draw you like a spider diagram of everything, it wouldn't go to that thing. Whereas with the magic system and the things I have planned, it's definitely more, there could be a table. Now, there could be graphs.
Yeah, there's not to say that you couldn't do that, is you just chose not to do that.
I haven't, yeah, for sure.
Because you did talk about your ADD, so I'm sure you could do it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of those projects. It's like, oh, let's get started on this. Oh my God, and then it grows.
Yes, yeah, I've been a victim of that before. And then suddenly there's pictures being drawn of boats and how they float and all of that kind of thing, and then I don't do any writing.
Exactly.
Okie doke.
Other things that distract you from what you really should be doing.
Yeah, totally.
I understand that. It happens every day.
Yeah. So, circling back to Torn Earth, now, when is this supposed to come out?
Exactly.
So the Torn Earth comes out on Friday the 13th. I love a
Oh, how
spooky
nice.
release date, so yeah.
That is cool. And where can it be found?
So it's available to pre-order now already, paperback, hardback, and ebook, and you can get it pretty much everywhere that books are sold. If you just Google Rory Michaelson, The Torn Earth, you shall find me most places.
Nice. So that also covers your social media presence, in case people want to follow everything as you do.
So I'm on TikTok and Twitter as @RoryMichaelson. And if you go on either of those, they're the things I use the most. And I've got my sort of link tree on there where you can find me everywhere else and get links to my website and best pages to buy things.
Cool. This has been really a fascinating conversation. I always enjoy talking to you, Rory. It's always fun.
Thanks. I like talking to you guys too. It's really nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hello, this is Carlton Tetley, the host of This Got Made, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks. Am I getting paid for this?
Well, that was a fascinating conversation. Always nice to talk to Rory.
Yes.
It just, I love their books. I really, really do. Mm-hmm. And here's a few selected birthdays for May 9th through May 15th, 2022. May 9th, Claudio Monteverdi was an Italian composer, string player, choir master, and priest. A composer for both secular and sacred music and a pioneer in the development of opera. He is considered a crucial transitional figure between the Renaissance and Baroque periods of music history. Much of his output was, including many stage work, has been lost. But his opera L'Orfeo in 1607 is the earliest of the genre still widely performed. Largely forgotten during the 18th and much of the 19th centuries, his works enjoyed a rediscovery around the beginning of the 20th century. He's now established both as a significant influence in European musical history and as a composer whose works are regularly performed and recorded. So it's he got a fascinating individual. Then we have Manfred Eigen. Was a German biophysical biophysical chemist.
Wow.
Who won the 1967 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for work on measuring fast chemical reactions. Eigen's research helped solve major problems in physical chemistry and aided in the understanding of chemical processes that occur in living organisms. In later years, he explored the biochemical roots of life and evolution. He worked to install a multidisciplinary program at the Max Planck Institute to study the underpinnings of life at the molecular level. He was hailed as creating a new scientific and technological discipline, evolutionary biotechnology.
Wow, I hear that and I feel it's like that man has achieved so much, and then I say
Exactly.
and I'm sitting here doing a podcast.
And he was the director of the Max Planck Institute for many years.
Yeah, I feel even better now.
May 10th, George Coe, actor, is one of those actors that every time we turn around,
there he is.
Oh my gosh, there's George Coe in something we never knew.
Yeah.
He came to our attention a number of years ago at a film festival screening for Big Eden.
Oh,
that
yes.
was here in Phoenix,
Yes.
where the filmmaker was here. And it was just, what a wonderful film. It's, look it up.
Beautiful
it's a
movie.
beautiful film.
Just beautiful.
Yep. I put Carl Albert on here because he was an American lawyer and politician who served as the 46th Speaker of the House of Representatives from 71 to 77 and represented Oklahoma's 3rd Congressional District as a Democrat from 1947 to 1977. Mm-hmm. He was born in McAlester, Oklahoma, the son of Leona and Ernst Homer Albert, a coal miner and farmer. Shortly after his birth, his family moved to Bugtussle, a small town north of McAlester. That's where Granny was from.
Bug Tussle.
from Bug Tussle, Oklahoma.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
exactly.
I and not to sound really terrible when I say this, but when I hear the name Bug Tussle, and you said it's small town, I'm like, yeah, I can't think of anything else it would be.
Yeah, and a couple of bugs tussling out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I almost took that into a bad place.
Yeah. Nancy Walker, actress, Mary Tyler Moore Show, Macmillan and Wife, Nancy Walker Show, Rhoda, and of course, Murder by Death.
And she was a singer at one
Yes,
time.
well, she was also Rosie the waitress in the Bounty paper towels commercials. Mm-hmm. And we just heard her on the most recent episode of The Offer, albeit a very young Nancy Walker,
Yes.
crooning like Rosemary Clooney.
Exactly.
I
I
mean,
was amazed.
wow.
But when you listen to it and realize, yeah, that sounds like Nancy Walker, a very young Nancy Walker, but you could hear it in the voice and in the way she pronunciated certain words.
Yeah.
Pronounced.
Pronunciated.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Except she didn't talk like this.
No. No.
And then we have friend of ours, Kevin Marshall. Happy birthday, Kevin. May 11th, Richard Feynman was an American theoretical physicist known for his work in the path integral formulation.
We're both having issues today, aren't we?
Of quantum mechanics, the theory of quantum electrodynamics, and the physics of superfluidity of supercooled liquid helium, as well as his work in particle physics, for which he proposed the Parton model. For contributions in the development of quantum electrodynamics, Feynman received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965. He was a keen popularizer of physics through both books and lectures, including a 1959 talk on top-down nanotechnology called There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom, and the 3-volume publication of his undergraduate lectures, the Feynman Lectures on Physics.
Wow.
Yep. Irving Berlin, a Russian-American composer, songwriter, and lyricist, widely considered one of the greatest songwriters in history. His music forms a great part of the Great American Songbook, and he died in 1989 at the age of 101.
Good heavens.
Yeah. I put Corey Monteith on here, actor
Oh, yes.
known for Glee, because it's important to say that if you're having a problem with addiction, as we do in every episode, if you are considering suicide, if you have a problem with addiction, or you can think you might have a problem with addiction of some kind, please reach out for help. There are people that can help you through this. He was actually in rehab for a short period of time, trying to get himself clean and sober, but unfortunately died of
It was a heroin overdose.
heroin overdose. And then we have friend of ours, Susan Echeverry. Happy birthday, Susan. May 12th, Bruce Boxleitner, actor in the Tron Z,
Yeah.
Scarecrow and Mrs. King, and Supergirl. Was Estee Lauder's first spokesman for Lauder for Men in 1986 and 1989. And we can't forget
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5.
Exactly.
Exactly. As Captain John Sheridan, or what did he? President John Sheridan.
Well, he does
And
become,
then-
President
then
John Sheridan.
Saint John Sheridan.
Yeah, I'd have to look up that episode again, but yeah, he gets some really lofty title in that deconstruction of falling stars.
Exactly. Then we have Burt Bacharach, composer of the music of our lives of the 60s and 70s.
I know.
Oh my God.
I mean, everywhere you turn, there his music. I mean, his music was there.
He was an accompanist at one time for Marlene Dietrich. And he wrote several of Dionne Warwick's hits. Walk On By, Say a Little Prayer, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Do You Know the Way to San Jose?
Yeah.
And a Tom Jones hit, What's New, Pussycat?
Oh, indeed.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I didn't know that was his.
And he will be 94.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And I've got there were a bunch of names on May 12th, and I'm just, excuse me, going to run their names by and Name only, not any history.
Okay.
Rami Malek.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Katharine Hepburn. George Carlin.
7 dirty words.
Yep. And Mary Kay Ash, famous Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Oh.
Yep. And then friend of ours, Tim Callender. Happy birthday. May 13th, B. Arthur. Actress, Maude. Golden Girls. And who can forget our favorite Cantina crooner in the Star Wars holiday special?
No. Oh, God. Cut my ears off.
So it's Revenge of the 13th.
Yes, exactly.
She was a supporter of the LGBT community. In fact, she left $300,000 to the Alley Forney LGBTQ homeless shelter in New York City.
Cool.
On her death. Marv Wolfman.
Oh, I love this man.
An American comic book and novelization writer. He worked on Marvel Comics, The Tomb of Dracula, for which he and artist Gene Colan created the Vampire Slayer Blade, and DC Comics, The New Teen Titans, and The Crisis on Infinite
That's
Earths,
the big one, yeah.
limited series with George Perez. Among the many characters Wolfman created or co-created are Cyborg, Raven, Starfire, Deathstroke, Tim Drake, Rose Wilson, Nova, Black Cat, Bullseye, and Omega Man.
He also wrote a lovely story about the origins of Wonder Girl that was just so unbelievably heartwarming. It didn't deal with Wonder Girl, the superhero. It dealt with Wonder Girl, the person. And I got to meet him at a convention in Oakland, and I thanked him for it and said I thought it was just one of the most beautiful things ever written. And he said that he was enormously proud of that story.
Yeah, cool. And then we have another friend of ours, John Etcheverry, husband of Susan.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And 2 days apart. May 14th, George Lucas, Mr. Star Wars.
Gee, he happened to be born just 10 days too late.
Yeah, exactly. American Graffiti, thanks 1138.
Oh my God.
The Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
And the Star Wars.
The Star Wars, yes.
The Star Wars.
The Star Wars.
While he appeared to always be on the cutting edge of technology, he actually sold Lucasfilm computer graphics to Steve Jobs. That eventually became Pixar.
Indeed.
Yes. He did not use a word processor when he wrote.
No, he used a typewriter. No, he
wrote longhand
in
a loose leaf binder.
That's right. I've actually there's footage of him starting to write what would be Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones, and you actually see him starting it out. Oh my God, that is, man! My hat's off to anybody who writes like that.
Exactly. And then we have Sian Phillips, actress, Clash of the Titans as Cassiopeia, I, Claudius as Livia, and Dune, Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam.
Get out of my mind!
Yes. A very long and distinguished career in British television and movies. She's just a wonderful actress. And then we have one of our favoriteest people, Della Cohen. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Della. May 15th, David Krumholtz, actor. The Santa Claus is Bernard, and Numbers. That series lasted for a number of years.
Yes, it did.
He's good friends with Colin Hanks, who actually helped him get that part in Numbers.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Russell Hornsby, actor, most known to us for Grimm as Hank Griffin, and he's been a very, very busy actor. I mean, he's just been in everything.
Oh,
it's
good.
Just amazing.
I'm glad to hear that.
And then we have a friend of ours, Frank Zipperer, who is a wonderful photographer. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a park domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We want to give a shout out, as always, to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program. They are a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They offer a place where clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set it up just like a store so that clients can pick and choose the foods they want, and it empowers them so no food is wasted. They also have a second distribution time for those in the gender non-conforming community that may be experiencing food insecurity regardless of HIV status. They're an all nonprofit organization, and they could certainly use your help. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree either with a single or a monthly recurring gift. You can go to jtfp.org where you can give a gift.
And it's time for our feedback. These are comments that we received in response to articles that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com, and the links for each of these articles and or episodes will be in the show notes for this episode number 377 at tggeeks.com. Starting with, regarding TG Geeks episode number 374, we got a comment from Michael D. Rasso. Gave him a happy birthday greeting. He says, thank you. And we got a comment from Corey Lynn Nelson. Because 374 was just a conversation between the two of us here. Corey says, I love when you two chat. Then we got a comment from Hamish Downey saying, I love the ones when it's just the two of you chatting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, regarding Hamish Downey's 5 questions with Calvin Zimmerman. Got a comment from Calvin on Twitter. He says, thanks so much for this. And then got a response from Hamish also on Twitter saying, so happy to be able to support your film. Moving on, regarding TG Geeks episode number 375. During that, we talked about the great Battle Royale comedy put out by Katie Edwards, my apologies. Katie Edwards, he put that out on his website, and we talked about the artwork in our article. We talked about the artwork on that, and it's by someone on Twitter named Atavaniel. And Atavaniel on Twitter says, and I'm reading exactly what was written, not me. Just now noticing my @ here. I'm just slow this morning. That's it, I swear. Can't wait to listen. Then I got a comment from, also on Twitter, from someone named Jessica, who said, loved this and the hype for the Hourglass Throne. Any chance Katie might be joining you two again for a chat about it? And of course, Katie had to respond, says, oh, hell yes. I'm so excited to set up a spoiler-heavy interview with the Two Gay Geeks after the book comes out. More details to follow soon. And we close this off regarding Ben's breakdown. The Batman is a mixed bag of bats in the belfry. Got a comment from Hamish again saying, I love the title.
We can always come up with some really good titles for stuff.
Well, that one kind of screamed in my head.
Exactly. If you want to leave a comment or on anything that we publish, whether it be an article or an episode, you can do that on our Facebook page where everything is published. You can comment on Twitter or Instagram, or for our episodes on YouTube, as well as everything obviously is published on tggeeks.com. We'll read it in our listener feedback section, and you can be famous. If you want to be even more famous, you can call our listener feedback line. Mm-hmm. How about that? It's getting lonely.
Very.
You can leave a message, and we'll play that on air. and call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
For more than 2 decades, Judy and Dennis Shepard have honored their son Matt by working to erase hate around the world. The Matthew Shepard Foundation honors his legacy by inspiring the good work of activists, teachers, artists, and legislators, and everyday LGBTQ+ folks and their allies. Join us today in helping to erase hate. Visit MatthewShepard.org.
Thank you to Comcast's NBC Universal for that promo. Well, as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please, if you are like an independent creator stuff, please go to their website, their Etsy pages, Twitter, Facebook pages, wherever you might find them, at conventions that are beginning to start again. Go there, chat them up, chat other people up about their stuff, buy their stuff. It would be wonderful. They love to sell their stuff, obviously. Mm-hmm. Please consider supporting independent creators. And we also want to give a shout out because Phoenix Fan Fusion is coming at the end of this month in May. So over Labor Day weekend, Friday, Saturday.
Labor Day?
Yes, Labor Day. Labor May Day.
Okay.
Memorial Day weekend. Holy cannoli. Coming up Memorial Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be there with the booth, and Tommy Cannon will be at our booth with us, and you can stop by and say hi. And we have some little stuff to give away as well, so check it out. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
We don't have a whole lot of time, but there's a number of things that just ended in the last week or so.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Something new that just started.
Yeah.
We've been watching Slow Horses. That ended. The End Game ended this week. And Julia ended this week. And
Picard.
Oh, my God.
That was...
No spoilers. Oh, my God.
Wow. I loved it. Just absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
And then at the same time, we have a new entry into the Star Trek.
We got Star Trek Discovery.
No,
Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Discover the Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, that's it. It's a strange new discovery.
There we go.
We need to start this episode all over again. We're a mess.
Exactly. We're a mess.
We're just a mess today.
Just a mess. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds, which I very much liked. I thought it was a really good starting off episode.
As with many people that I've seen, you know, many of the friends that I grew up with, as you know, in grade school, where Star Trek was new and the thing, they have commented that I don't necessarily, you know, agree with some of the character portrayals or some little nitpicky stuff, but this feels like the Star Trek that we grew up with.
Yeah, it feels very procedural, you know, which is what we wanted. I mean, that's what we had with the original series and to some extent with Next Generation. We were all kind of looking for that. And I thought this one had a good, nice starting off point to it. You know, it had that good Star Trek morality message. And we got a clip, we were shown a clip of a new character that is coming in.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I think this guy's going to be the breakout character. We are talking about, and I'm trying to say his name is Hammer. He's I can't think of the name, Anar.
Yep.
Which are like, sort of like, almost albino Andorians.
Right.
And I think this guy is going to be the breakout character of the entire series. Yeah. Watch out. Just the little clip that we saw looked fantastic. I think this series is going to be amazing. Yeah. And it's also nice to see the character arc that Christopher Pike is going to be going through.
Exactly. And I thought that the little clip on the Ready Room with Akiva Goldsman was spot on.
Oh yes,
he was born in 1963, so he's a little young, just a couple
of
years
younger than us.
But he grew up watching Star Trek,
just like we did,
watching the reruns and the reruns and the reruns and the reruns,
yeah,
and watching it continually. So the original series had that rewatchability for us fans because there was nothing like it.
It still does. I still pop out the original series episodes and watch them because I think they are timeless.
Yeah, and he is a fan and wants to do it right, and I agree.
I agree. I applaud that. And as I said after we watched the first episode, we have the Star Trek fandom to thank for that because it was the huge positive outcry after season 2 of Discovery saying, we need more Pike. We need more number 1. We need more Spock. We need more of that Spock.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think this series is going to be great. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Exactly.
And it's time for our weekly review. These are items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week, and the links for each of these will be in the show notes for this episode article number 377 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, May 1st, Nerdy Chupacabras number 98. On Monday the 2nd, TG Geeks episode number 376. On Tuesday the 3rd, Ben's gay book breakdown, No Surrender, is filled with multi-layered paranormal goodness. On Wednesday the 4th, Ben's breakdown, The Offer, 3-episode thoughts. Oh my God. We just saw episode 4 last night.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to see where this goes. On Thursday the 6th, Devette sees movies. Stranger things have happened, and we're not talking about the Stranger Things series. She's talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I'm very excited to say we're going to be seeing tomorrow. Yep. On Friday the 7th, Hamish Downey's first Friday playlist for May 2022. And we close off the week with Saturday the 8th. Disney Plus releases brand new trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have some shout-outs that we need to make. First to Brian Weber, our good friend, also known as Arkle. He is on Twitter as Geek of All Trades. That is at G, the number 3, K of All Trades. Also referred to as Brian the Ampersand List YouTuber. He has his Arkle Times Post Dispatch News. Yes, it is back, which does republish some of our content from time to time. And you can find the Post Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. And while you're looking for all things Arkle, go to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Arkle Studios. He has a number of projects there. He has a Shameless Cash Grab series, which is in season 7. His Rants vs. Zombies series is over. However, all of the episodes are still there, so you can always check that out. He also has Arkle tier ranks, as well as game videos of Trick and Treat, as well as Star Trek Online. We must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our just beautiful stuff on their pages. And first to, Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to their moderators for saying that we could share away our content there. And their web address is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek. For also
The Gay Geek.
Well, it came
the
up.
Gay Geek.
The first G didn't come out. It sounded like I said the A Geek.
The A-geek.
Yeah, you know,
A-gay.
it's the LGBTQ version of the A-team.
I see.
Or should that be the gay team? Gotta think
The
about
gay
that.
team.
Yeah, the gay team. The Gay Geek for pretty much the same nonsense. And their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Other places we can be found are Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays, and listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Seek help if you need help for addiction or suicide. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.